So first off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over how to actually add components to CodePonder. So I now have set up this UI library, and so anyone can contribute components, but I'll talk more about that in a second. And we have a spec right here. Now the spec is not what I need. Mockups. So we can actually view this. And we can start making components for this. So I'm going to go over basically the whole process of how you can contribute code to CodePonder. And then we're going to go over getting the user's first name and last name from GitHub when we log them in. Then we're also going to create a form, and this form is going to be for them to pick their username when they create an account on CodePonder, and basically any kind of other profile details they want to set. Hey, what's up, Nat? And then lastly, we're going to fetch the current user's repos. Not sure if we're going to get to this today. And what I mean by that is, for example, me, Ben Awad, I have a bunch of GitHub repos. I want to fetch all the names and data for it. That way I can display it to the user on the site. I'm doing pretty good today. We made some good progress yesterday on auth, which was cool. And let's go ahead and jump into this first bit. All right, so CodePonder currently has a package over here called UI. And in UI over here, we have source and some components. And right now I have two dummy components, button and header. And we're going to go through how you can add other components like real ones and go through that whole process. So let's say you want to add a component to CodePonder. What should you do? First off, you're going to fork it. So you would fork it for yourself, but I already own the code, so I can't fork it myself. So I just made a test org to show you this. So here I am forking this, and basically it makes a copy of it in your own account. And after I fork it, I'm going to clone the code. So I copied the URL for it there, and now I'm going to go into a new repository. So I'm going to say programming that, and in this folder I'm going to say git clone, and here I'm going to clone this repository. And again, you can either copy it from the URL or click this button here and grab it there. Alright, so after I clone it, I'm going to cd into CodePonder, and I'm going to open up in my favorite editor, which is Visual Studio Code. And yep, this is over here is good. So when I install it for the first time, we're going to have to run yarn, and what that's going to do is just install all the packages for it. And then after that, we can click on Packages, UI, Source, and this is the package that we care about. So we have our components here, and so if you want to create a new component, you can say New. And actually, before we go over even adding a component, we can go over like how you run this. So it's set up with a storybook. I don't know what you would call a storybook. I guess a storybook server, but we can start storybook by running the storybook script over here. So when this is done running, we're going to cd into packages, UI, and we're going to say yarn storybook. All right, so this is going to build basically this project, which is just a couple components. And then we can actually view the components that currently exist in the project, and then we can expand upon that. All right, so we can see currently I just have a button, and that's it. And we can click it and actually interact with it if we want to. And so what you can do is you can either go into this button and you can add styling to it if you want to improve upon this particular component. So here I'm going to say background color is going to be red, and you save it, and this should update real time. Now I don't know if it'll even let me set. Okay, we can set background color and buttons. Cool. So there we go. Or you can create a new folder. So what I'm thinking is a folder per each component. So I'm going to create an input component here, and I went ahead and chose styled components for this. So we're going to be using styled components per each component, but feel free if you want to add a slightly different library for styling, or if you want to just use style, the tag, you can, or the prop, I mean. So I'm going to create a index, and by the way, this is in TypeScript, and if you need any help, we'll just say .tsx. You can let me know and I can help you with setting that up. So here we're going to create a new input component. I'm going to say input. I'm going to take in some props. So I'm going to say ... and for now I'm just going to say any. So actually we're just going to spread that onto the input. ... props. And we're going to say style component. I'm going to say const input uppercase. And we're going to import that from style components. Then we can pick any styles that we want. So I want to set the font size to 18. And we're going to say this.props. And we have a conflict here because I called this input and I called this input. So I'm just going to call this my input. All right, so here's my component. Now, if you want to see what your component looks like, you can create a story for it. So the name of the component .story.tsx, and I'm just going to copy what I have for the button. So here we're going to import these three things, and so you're going to pick the name of this story or the component here, which is going to be input. We can give it a name, so here is just going to be basic example. And I'm going to render just my component. So render the input. And we don't need the action. And you can add as many of these as you want. So we can see over here our basic example. Here's our input with the big font size. And then we can come over here and we can add stylings to it. So I want this to be OD for the font color, and it'll update and we can rerun it. So that's how you add the component. That's how you visualize the component. The other thing is after you add that component, you need to export it so we can access it in other places. So you export the components and the name of it, input here, and then we're done. So here I'm going to say added a input component. Now I'm doing this, actually let's create a new branch because that's probably a best practice. So before we do this, we're going to say git checkout, and I did -b here to create a new branch. So I'm going to say feature/input. And we'll just do lowercase input. And so we say added a input component. We're going to save that to git, and we can say git push origin feature /input. So this is our branch. So I'm going to push it up. And now I can come over to my repository over here, and you can see it says compare and pull request on this one I just picked. If this doesn't pop up for you, you can also go to it here. So we'll refresh the page. So you can either click that or click here, feature input, and then click new pull request. But we'll go ahead and click that. And we're going to go ahead and say added an input component. We're going to create a pull request, and that is it. So you have now contributed to CodePonder, and then I'll review your code, give you comments if necessary, and we can merge it into CodePonder. So yes, I like this guy, and so I would go in and I'm like, yes, confirm, merge. And that's it. So now we have contributed to CodePonder, and CodePonder now has a new component. So I don't need this anymore, so I'm going to just remove it. Yeah. Let's see what chat has to say. Have I messed with, hey Viable, have I messed with emotion before? Yes, I actually used to use emotion before I used style components because I also heard that it was more performant. But one thing that I recently switched away from it is because the TypeScript definitions got messed up for me for some reason. Workbench startup editor, none. Why? I don't mind seeing my recent files that I worked on. That's the other thing. Style Components has a bigger ecosystem, so there's just you get like nice benefits from having more people using that library. Yes, I was gonna try out Style JSX for this as well, and I might still just try it out when I write some of my components. But Style Components is also just really nice when you're creating a component library. Why don't you go live on YouTube? So I'm about to be partnered, not partnered, but affiliated with Twitch. I believe this is the last day. And so after that, I don't think I can, it doesn't allow me to stream anywhere but Twitch. Performance difference isn't going to matter in most cases, probably. For Style Components versus Emotion. Yeah, maybe. The other thing is it's probably not a big difference between those two, I'd imagine. And also, it's one of those things where Style Components can probably catch up pretty quickly if needed. Create a pull request for good practice, exactly. Hey Ben, what time do you come on daily? So far I am coming on at 6 p.m. Central Time, or 16 minutes ago, and that's pretty much what I'm planning on doing the rest of the time unless something changes. So this is probably going to be my usual schedule. So let's go ahead and just clean up this. We don't need this repo on our things anymore. And I can come over here and I can just pull that, because we got some new stuff. Did I not? Wait, what? Did I delete the wrong repo? Oh no, I had that open because of that. Okay. That was in the wrong repo, but I was just had it in the wrong tab of tmux. There we go. Beepo donated 10 and said, thanks for answering my questions. Thanks for donating, man. Also, I added like a little thing that should like, little zombie that should show up. Did you see that pop up in my screen? Okay, so projects, we finished our first part. Okay, yeah, I need to figure out how to get the noise to appear. All right, so we're done with this. Let's add the first name and last name for users. So if I go to my server, the first thing I wanted to add is to my user 2 fields, first name, last name. Actually, real quick, before I even do that, let me just confirm that GitHub stores that. Yep, it does. All right, let's do uppercase. So this is going to be a field. Nullable is not going to be true. By the way, I decided what I want to do for username. We are not going to make it null. We're going to set the default value be the username on GitHub. And then if we have a conflict, someone already has that username, we're going to say that username 1, that username 2, and so on until we don't get a conflict. All right, unique is not true on first name. All right, and we're also going to have a last name here. And again, I'm grabbing this and I'm exposing it to GraphQL so I can access those fields. And so far, I'm liking being able to just like have this one entity for my GraphQL stuff and for my TypeORM database things, because it's very easy to just add the field and not have to add it other places. All right, so over here, if we come to where we actually add users, there we go. So here we're creating a user. We get their GitHub ID, picture URL, and bio. but we are not saving their first name and last name. So we are going to console log the profile, and let's start up both these things. Oh, and this needs to be dev. Random question, but are you going to play the new Smash in 2 days, or do you not really play any games? Yeah, I don't really play any games anymore. We need to kill that. I think I stopped gaming pretty much right before I entered college and just haven't done it anymore. Now and then I'll play like a game or two, but what is it called? Public.user? Oh, public.user, not schema. So basically we had a user in our database that had a null value, so we just needed to clear him. All right. And I think we were at /home. I don't think I need to worry about this issue. I think I was just fetching the user. Ben is a Dota 2 guy. Actually, I used to be a League guy, not a Dota 2 guy. Sorry guys, yeah, not a Dota guy. If you want a GUI for Postgres, Table Plus is really nice. Table Plus. Yeah, then I played Hearthstone for a little bit. Dark Souls for a little bit. This looks pretty nice. The one that I have been using lately is called DataGrip. I don't use it as much for like viewing data per se, but I do use it for like writing SQL because it has a really nice SQL auto-completion. What was your rank? I think the best I did was probably like gold. I don't think I got to plat. Maybe I was early plats. I wasn't great. I was kind of meh. I was definitely I love playing Singed and just proxying. That was like my favorite thing to do. But basically, data grip, we're just gonna get some nice auto completion here. So for example, select all from user, and I know that's a table. We can select. We don't have any users right now, do we? Oh, we do have users. Why do I have users right now? Oh, this is CodePonder. This is my other database. I was like, why do we have users in our database right now? But the thing is I can see all the fields that are attached to it. So like this kind of auto completion is super nice. And I bet there's probably a way to view per se. I don't really use it for viewing. I'll check this out. This looks pretty nice. Maybe I'll use this for viewing. But to be honest, I don't tend to view my data that much. So I don't know if I'll need that as much. Null in the username. We'll have to fix that. Table. Okay, Table Plus has auto completion like that. Cool. Yeah, I haven't really. I need to do that when we deploy the servers to actually set up something that allows me to see the data in the database and like change stuff if I need to. I create a helper to ensure unique in the matter of keeping username unique. Nice. I mean, what we're going to do is we're just going to have the database do that for us. So whenever I insert something into the database, if it throws an error, we're going to check whether it was a unique error on the username. Okay, so let's see. There should be a first name and last name somewhere here. For some reason, it's only name. All right, I'm totally chill with just doing name. We'll just match what GitHub does. All right. So name, and that's under the JSON. So we have bio, name, picture URL. Good. That's pretty much the only thing I wanted to do. All right. Oh, no, that's not. Username. So here's how the username is going to go. So we're going to grab the username from profile.username. Now we're gonna log the error, and we're gonna look at the unique error message. All right, so start back up. Auth GitHub. Cool. Let's go back to our 3000/home. You'll be online daily on Twitch? Yes, I will. That's the other thing we need to do. We need to create a regular expression for our username. Looks like it created a user just fine. Cool. So now I just want to do that again. So now that we have me in the database, we're going to create me again, and it's going to throw an error. What? Yes, because profile.id can't read property ID of undefined. So is the profile undefined here? We weren't logging it. All right, let's log the profile. There we go. This is what I wanted to view. So we'll see here. Detail username equal Benawad already exists. So this detail key is what we need to look for. Error.detail. If error.detail.includes, is that the, yep, that's that. Username, or we're gonna say already exists. Already exists. And if that already exists, we are just going to increment the username. So here we're gonna say, why don't we create a utility for this to just abstract this? So I'm gonna call this create user.ts, and we're gonna export const create user. And basically we can copy this code over. So we're just going to specify all the fields that we need. I may be able to do something to save it with like grabbing the entity type, but if we add any fields later that we don't care about creating the user, we'll need to do this. So we'll just do it now. And all this stuff is strings anyway, right? Is anything not a string? Nope. That was very easy to set up. All right, we'll just plug each one of these in. All right, so we're gonna say let user, and we're gonna return a user, and this is gonna be of type user. And we're gonna return it. So the thing that I wanna check here is I'm gonna say try catch error, and we're gonna do that if details. So if this happens, and we're gonna just put this in a while loop. So while, and we're gonna say times is equal to 100. So we'll try this up to 100 times. I don't think we'll ever need to do that many because I don't think we're gonna have 100 people conflicting usernames. Hey Ben, I have a question about your boilerplate. Suppose you want an admin front end for your system so employees could log in, review the companies, and change stuff. Would you make that package for this or make it a part of /web? I think it would depend how much overlap I would have with that over the web. So if there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to be sharing with the web, then I think it makes sense to put it inside of the web. Otherwise, I think it's fine to just keep it as an outside package. Or not an outside package, but as another monorepo package. Alright, so down here we're going to say times minus equal 1. So we're going to try creating the user, and we're going to say and then if we get this error, otherwise if we don't get this error, we're just going to throw new error, or I guess we can just throw this like that. We'll just throw the error because we're not expecting anything but this sort of error. So if error.detail includes this, we're going to say maybe username, we'll say times. So we can use times here. I'm actually going to make it 0, and we're just going to increment. So if we're able to create a user, we're going to break out of the loop. We're going to say if times is greater than, while times is less than 100. Alright, so here we're going to say maybe username. We'll do it like that. I think you can just add them together. No, we can't. We should just do string templates because we need to cast it to a string. We're never going to change this anymore, so I'm just going to say username here. I was thinking of actually changing the string itself. All right. Actually, we know we're going to get a user, and we'll just do it like that. That's fine. All right, so what this code does right here is we're going to loop potentially 100 times. And for each loop, we're going to try creating a user. On the very first time, this is going to be 0. So this is going to go to this condition. It's going to try the original username. If that works, we break out of the loop and we return the user. Otherwise, if it catches an error, we're going to check if it already existed. And if it didn't already exist, we just throw an error because this is an unexpected error. But if we do get an already existed error, we expected that, we increment the number of times we have looped, and then we come back to the top. By the way, this should probably just be a for loop. Just realize that, but that's all right. And then we're going to try it. And so this is going to be like binawad 1 now. All right, so now instead of this, we're going to say if we don't have a user, well, no, yep. Well, that's fine. We don't have a user yet. We're going to say create user, and we'll pass in this info. All right, now let's see what happens. Maybe add a dash between that and the username so that if the username ends in a number, it's more clear. Yeah, I'm down for that. So that would mean we're going to allow dashes in our username. Do I want to allow the dashes in people's usernames? I think a better solution is to fetch from the database all users with the username that start with it. So I think that it depends. So the reason why I say that is if you expect a lot of collisions, I agree. Won't username always be with 0? No, because what's going to happen is, and I think we're not going to do a dash for username, so I'm just going to get rid of that. When this is 0, it's going to be false, so we just say very first time we try this. So when we're doing this, we expect very, very few collisions or none at all. So in that case, we're going to do it like this. Now I can see what you're talking about if we have a collision to fetch the users here and then check which one we have to increment. That might be a nice optimization if we see a ton of collisions. But basically I'm expecting like 0 collisions, so we're going to just go with this code because it's pretty simple, and then we'll fetch users if we need to. All right. So we restart the server. I'm not sure what this is about. Server index 1112. Ah, this right here. Does that mean create user did not work? Because it should not be undefined. So the way we're going to check is just to select all the users. All right, username, Ben. All right, we don't want to console log this because this is distracting. I'm going to comment that out just to make sure that we're calling this. And then we're going to say console.log looping. And we'll log if any errors that we get. Right, so let's see how many times we loop. So we got that once. We looping 99. And then it should work, and then we should be good. No, it's not creating the user. Did I hit save? I am hitting save. Times plus equal 1. I feel like this, or I think we're just throwing the error maybe. I don't see anything about throwing errors. Looping 99. Oh. Okay, yeah, we're looping a ton of times. Alright, let's get rid of all these console logs because they're just distracting things. Alright, now we can see what's happening. We looped 100 times trying to insert users. That should be home. Alright, look at this. We're looping 100 times. So this is crashing every single time. So now let's scroll back up to what was giving me a problem with. Ah, the GitHub ID should be unique too. Haha. That's true. Should we assume this this GitHub URL is not unique for now? So I know the GitHub ID should be unique, but for the sake of just seeing if this works, I'm going to remove it. Nice. So now we should have bin and binwad1. Perfect. And I'm just going to delete the users. So this is going to be our create user that also like sets up the username. So if we don't get a user here, we don't log them in. Let's put the unique constraint back. All right. So I'm now happy with this. So we're doing this successfully. And this is kind of the next thing we want to work on. So we just did, we just gave them a default username, but we want to allow them to pick their own if they want to. So when I click on that, let's take it to a new screen. So this is going to be new user.tsx. So this is actually what we want to redirect to them after they logged in. And this is pretty much where we're going to have our form. All right, so now the redirect is going to happen at localhost 2000/new user. And so we're going to set up our form, and we're going to do formic for this. So I'm going to import the input from, not that, but our UI, and not Saffron. This should be called CodePonder. And we're going to say input. So now it's not recognizing the input because we have not built this yet. I forgot whether or not you said you'd be using hooks for this series. I was thinking about using hooks, but there's two things that I'm unsure about with hooks. One, we are going to be using get static props, or not get static, but get initial props with Next.js. So I'm not sure if there's an equivalent of that. There may be a way with hooks, but I don't know of it. And also the other thing is I'm not sure if it works with server-side rendering with Apollo. It may not, but that's something I'm not sure of right now. So for now, I'm thinking I'm just gonna code it like with components and then not even refactor it later, just use components for now. Hi, a suggestion, maybe just call the page profile. It is irrelevant if a new user, it can be reused. That's a good point. Let's do that. Because this can just be our general edit profile screen. I like that a lot. Should we do profile/edit then? Do you like that better? All right, so that got built. So now in here we're gonna render our input. Why is it not recognizing it? So inside of web, which we're currently, I just added this. Let me just restart TypeScript server then. Hey TJ, it's going well today. We just got default usernames for people. And now we're going to create a form so you can set your profile after you log in. I have no idea why it cannot find Formic. We added it right there. I'm guessing it has to do something with our tsconfig. Is it just messed up somewhere? Maybe our root? So what I want to see is if this crashes. So one thing I want to see is if this is a problem with, all right, so this can't find anything either. So there's two things. One, we could really have a problem, or we could just have a problem with TypeScript in our VS Code editor. So for me to deduce this, we're going to just build the server and see if it crashes. Is it not supposed to be import Formic without braces? Again, not sure if I've used it before. Yeah, it may be that, but that's not the current problem. The current problem is it can't even find the module there. Yep, cannot find it. So it is for sure a problem with Yarn workspaces, maybe? It's messed up. So I'm just gonna do an ls on our node modules. Don't see it. And I'm doing ls on node modules there. We got a bunch of stuff. Formic is not there. So for whatever reason, when we ran yarn add Formic, it did not add it. Awesome. In the process of exploring coding and designing, not really wanting to continue in my job field, interested in making career changes in web dev, just kind of lost where to start. What kind of thing are you want to do? So you're trying to decide whether you want to do coding or design for web dev, or you want to do more coding things. Okay, so we added the dependency here. So I'm just going to do an ls, not there. ls, not there. I'm kind of at a loss what the heck is going on. The other thing I've seen is we need to set private to true. I think that might be the problem. Okay, still not getting it. So in these cases, I like to just wipe the node modules and install everything, see if that's what could be causing it. But honestly, not really sure what's going on. So I know I'm going to wrap this in a form so we can start filling this a little bit out. And we're going to have a name, which is a string. And we're going to have a bio, which is a string. And I wonder if these things I'm probably going to get from... Nah, we're going to not do some of them. I was thinking maybe to get this interface from TypeScript, but there's only going to be, or sorry, from GraphQL that we're going to auto-generate. But what's making me choose not to do that is we may have some fields which we don't want to display. In this case, we have name, username. We don't want to show, but we're not even fetching it. We're just not gonna allow them to pick a picture URL at first. They are allowed to pick a bio. I know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are common requirements. Yep, they're pretty common for web dev. I've started learning HTML, CSS in the last couple of days, but I'm seeing a lot of other requirements when I look at web dev jobs. I'm not sure what a lot of it is. jQuery, etc. Yeah, jQuery is a JavaScript library. That's actually a good one. Let me see if that's the one I've seen. Yeah, the developer roadmap for front end. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I would recommend following that. Yeah, I think Beepo has some great advice. All right, so we have bio, picture URL. So I'm trying to decide what fields I want to allow the person to access and which fields I do not. I think at first I'm actually just going to let them set a username, and the rest of the information I'm going to get off of GitHub and then worry about letting them edit it later. Is jQuery relevant nowadays? A lot of sites still use it, so in that sense, yes, but a lot of sites are using other stuff as well. Like, I think less sites are being written today with jQuery than before. Like, I think React, Angular, and Vue are pretty much the more popular choices now. Let's see if this finished. Yeah, it did. Nice. So it actually installed Formic now. That was such a weird thing that was happening. Let's see if both of these render now. Alright, so now it's just not that. So I am exporting the input component. I am exporting it here. If I click on the dist and I come to index, it is not showing up. Alright, so now I can see the problem. The other thing is I want to, when I'm building, I want to remove everything there. So package rimraf is usually what I use. So we're going to destroy the dist and we're going to rebuild it with tsc. I'm going to get rid of this style guide. So what I'm noticing is this source directory is the root thing. So we're going to say dist/source. And then now I made changes. I was thinking I may have to re-yarn. I think I have to kill the node modules up there and reinstall it because I made changes to the package.json. I don't know if it's sim-linked and it'll auto-change, but I'll do that just to be safe. So what I've decided here is I'm just going to have them pick a username. So this is going to be the pick username screen. So we are just not going to allow them to update their profile at first. We are just going to make this dead simple. What are your thoughts on boot camps? Are they actually worth it? Personally, I've never gone to a boot camp, and I haven't looked at them too closely, so I can't say from personal experience or that sort of thing. I would say if it could be helpful to like break in and like, hard to say. I don't really know too much about boot camps, so I would have to know more about your situation. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe some other people here have taken a boot camp before and can say. I think it depends. Learning yourself could be good if you're really motivated, but also you have to properly choose what to learn, and then also making sure afterwards you pick the right technologies and you're able to now find a job and that sort of thing. And I think that's where boot camps can help you kind of get your first job. But I mean, you will be paying money in exchange, so there is a trade-off. All right, so I just want to see if this renders. Oh, you went to a boot camp, not worth. What boot camp did you go to? Nice. So our username. So in our components over here, I'm going to say formic fields, and we're going to say input field, and we're going to create a custom formic field here. So I always just start by copying the field off Formic's website. So what I'm thinking about right now is how I want to handle errors. And I think what I want to do is I want to add a field on my input here called error text. And we'll just pass in the error there. So in this particular input component that we have in CodePonder over here, I'm going to make it so it can handle errors, the error text prop. I definitely think you probably will, Bootcamp will speed up the time it takes. So now that we have that field over there, we're going to use the field component from Formic. The name is going to be username, and then here we're going to pass in a component, and the component we're going to pass in is that input field that we created. And we're getting no like highlighting. Restart TypeScript again. Okay, so handle submit here is going to be in our form. So we're going to say on submit and pass in handle submit. So I'm curious if by default Formic protects against double submits. So I'm going to just check that right now. And so what I mean from that is I'm going to say new promise. And we're going to say set timeout. Callback. Let's say 1 second. And here what we're going to do is we're going to resolve the promise. And we're going to say set submitting to false. And so I want to see if I can submit before the 1 second is up. And let's make this 5 seconds. So we print out the username, and then hopefully until that triggers this you can submit again, I'm not able to submit. So I'm going to click it again, and now I'm able to click it a bunch of times and submit it a bunch of times, and it's going to submit all like that. So I do need to set up some protection for this. I wonder if I can check if it's submitting here. So I mean, can I set disable? So like, I know I can disable the button. So I can definitely disable that, and I don't need, okay, I thought I was preserving the log. Oh right, this is auto. So like now it won't let me click anymore, but because I'm using a form, I can just hit enter. Ah, no, because I disabled the input form there, we're good. All right, so the key was just to disable the button. I was thinking I need to do like disable the form itself, but just disabling the submit type button is enough. All right, so this experiment is over. Moral of the story, all I needed to do was disabled is submitting. So I knew I needed to add that. Wasn't sure if I need to add anything else, but it looks like that's enough. Seeing some errors over here now. To get rid of those, we just need to add the field props from Formic. So with this field, what do we want to do? So we first need to fetch the current username of the user, and then we need to display that and then allow them to update it. So let's do that first thing today, and then we'll actually do the updating at a later time, or next stream. So update here, and this is going to be React Apollo. And I want to actually move this into a better place, but today we're going to just do a quick test. Because I'm not really a fan of just writing this stuff in line. So I'm going to grab the current user, and we're going to follow pretty much what we did for this thing over here. In this case, I only care about grabbing the username. Well, also the ID. well, let's just do username. We know who the user is. We may turn this into a fragment later. Well, that's probably what we'll do. So we are already starting to stack things. And by stack, I mean nest. So we have a nested render prop query and then a nested formic there. So that's fun. I just hacked your site, lol. Which site did you hack? So if loading, we're gonna return null. Otherwise, the initial values from formic, we can pass in here. Me.username. Can I read property username of null? So me is null here. Do you use Discord? Would love to pick your brain more. Yeah, I think he is on Discord. I really use it, but I whisper you my username. Okay. Cannot read property. Let's see where this is happening. Can't read property username. If not. Okay, so me is null, which, am I logged in? Now I'm for sure not logged in. All right, so let's log me in. I'm going to authorize. And now I see my username here. And so the idea is I can now pick one and hit submit to save it. Cool. So I think that's it for today's stream. What we're going to do in tomorrow's stream is clean up the query code that we have here. And when the user submits this, we're also going to actually update their username in the database. So thanks for watching today, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.